There's a man who is miserable, and he complains about everything. There's a man who is happy, and he compliments about everything. There's a man who has everything, but he blames everyone. There's a man who has nothing, but he blesses everyone. There's a man who struggles about who he is and has no room to offer love to others. There's a man who loves himself completely and creates his capability to love others. There's a man who works super hard every day but still has nothing achieved. There's a man who works super smart every day and he has everything he needs. There's a man who wants to be successful, but he doesn't want to work hard. There's a man who wants to work hard, but he doesn't achieve any success. There's a man who I call a father, and he loves me, but he mistreated my mother. There's a man whom my husband calls a father, and he became an admirable father of mine. There is a man who said he loved me, but he's not the one I can walk my whole life with. There's a man who I married, and he's the best fit and gift for me. There's a man who I worked with, and I learned so much from him. There's a man who I worked for, and I achieved so much for him. There's a man who is so rich, but he is not happy. There's a man who is not so rich, but he is happy. There's a man who is not rich and not happy. There's a man who is rich and happy. There's a man who wants to get married but remains single. There's a man who wants to enjoy his single life, but he is happily married. There's a man who always wanted a child, but he could not get one. There's a man who always said no child, but he got more than one. There's a man who has a big dream to achieve, and he is still looking for the blueprint. There's a man who has a big blueprint of his success, and he is waiting for someone to ask for it. There's a man who has so many dreams but has no money. There's a man who has so much money but no dreams. There's a man who thinks he is the best of all and sees no room to grow. There's a man who is the best of all, but he is still learning and growing. There's a man who is a billionaire who drives the best car and lives in the best house, but he is feeling empty. There's a man who is a billionaire who drives the oldest car and lives in an old house, but he is feeling happy. There's a man who lives a life only thinking for himself and cleaning his own front yard and feeling disconnected. There's a man who lives a life only looking for all opportunities to make a difference in people's lives, and he is feeling fulfilled. There's a man who works for someone but feels miserable. There's a man who works for himself but feels great. There's a man who works for himself but feels miserable. There's a man who works for someone but feels great. There's a man who gives up easily as he can't find his purpose. There's a man who doesn't have anything but never gives up as he knows his whys. There's a man and his name is you, me. Which man are you? Our life is a choice, and like the butterfly effect, every choice that we make impacts our future. Our life needs a purpose. And when you find your purpose, everything that happens to you becomes meaningful. Are you ready to choose wisely from today? Are you ready to write a meaningful new story every single day by living a meaningful life? Find purpose in your life and never give up on your dreams. Nothing is impossible. The story of a man is written by Kristy, and it is the story of all of us, men and women. We are many from everywhere in the world, but we are one. There's a man, but let's be the happy man.